Okay, following up with our exercises on directional lighting in scenes to create a little bit of extra drama. I thought we'd finish these pieces off. There's one thing about doing these types of exercises, but, you know, just like anyone else, I like to do finish cards too. And you can do that with these exercises here. Although I think it's good to just go into it with the idea of something being an exercise and, you know, not really having to do anything more to it, you know, because it puts us in the mindset of kind of concepts as opposed to kind of final destinations and, you know, trying to come up with something, I don't know, whatever, museum quality. That's, you know, that's what, you know, a lot of us go into the pieces kind of thinking. I'm just kind of joking when I say museum quality, but you know, when you're learning concepts, it's good to get into the idea and just like I said, just the concept of things, so that you're just kind of focused on that. Okay, so if you stamp out a tree or something like that, and the branch doesn't stamp out, it's not really, you know, you're not worrying about that or kind of looking at that while you go through the entire kind of lesson plan. Okay, so let's finish these off a little bit differently in each one of these, and I'll just show you how we can kind of emphasize the lighting direction in all of these different pieces here. Okay, so on this one right here, this one was just grayscale, so I thought I would do grayscale tones in the background. So if we look at these right here, this was from a lesson yesterday. This is the vanishing point. I think I used the vanishing point as like that little spot right where this tree trunk kind of Y's off like this. So this whole area right here is going to be kind of where the lighting is coming from. But right now it's just kind of open sky in the background, okay? So let's get that a little bit more focused. All right, I'm just using a paper towel here. This isn't the thing that you have to use for, you know, like a grayscale scene. I'm just doing these differently for each one, just so you can show, you can see that, you know, how you can approach these different types of pieces here. Okay, now normally when I'm doing this, I would probably put this kind of, you know, smeared background in before I stamp my trees, just because, you know, when you go and do this dragging kind of motion right over the top of your stamp pieces, it could kind of smear them a little bit, okay? So if you do this background first and stamp the trees over the top of it, you know, we don't have to really worry about any of that, okay? But again, just, you know, to keep things kind of in that kind of whole mindset of kind of exercises. We won't worry about that here. I am getting a little bit of dragging in here, even though I did stamp this out yesterday, so I'm kind of wondering why it's kind of smearing my tree just a touch. I guess I used a lot of ink or something like that. But see how this is kind of directing my lighting over here now? Now I need to come over here a little bit more. This is just a gray Memento ink London Fog. You can use a sponge. A sponge would be really good in this. I don't know, kind of whatever applicator you want to use here. Okay. So I'll go like that, and see that's where the lighting is coming from a little bit more. I mean, you can go over here a little bit more. Creeping this over just to kind of more, you know, I guess center that light source around my vanishing point for those shadows right there. But look at that. I mean, that really changed the kind of the mood of the piece, I think. Let's see, let's add in a little bit more tone in our landscape while we're at it. Okay. I'll throw in a little bit more of a vignette down here. See that tone down here? And then down here, we'll go like this. So we're kind of focusing the lighting kind of more in the interior here. I mean, that looks more like lighting now, right? but you know, the exercise. I didn't do it yesterday because I wanted us to focus in on the shadow portion, but it's good to see, you know, what these shadows look like in context of overall lighting, you might say, or call it. Okay, leaving this kind of open to light right in here. That's the difference between kind of coloring and lighting. Coloring, you kind of color in like a whole field, an area with color, but when you're doing coloring and lighting at the same time, what you're doing is it's the retention of light areas, okay? And in scenic stamping, it'll represent, you know, that lighting within the scene. Let's see. Let's go a little bit right here. All right. I was going to add black to that, but I think that looks pretty good like that, you know, just kind of in a lighter tone. I mean, I can add, you know, a stronger or a thicker amount of this gray to get darker, but or I can add black in here, but it would get, you know, really dark. It'd maybe a little more like a film noir or something like that, you know, and get tone. Or we can, you know, we can add on a little bit more with our, you know, one of our black colored pencil in here if you want to go a little bit darker, you know, but not go into like a black ink, you know, if you want to go with a little bit more on the edges or, you know, kind of wherever you want it to go. You know, you just kind of readjust, but that's our light source right back in here. And then we have our lighting, our shadows, rather. Kind of, you know, coming from that source right there, okay? All right, anyways, that has a pretty good mood to it, you know, just for, I don't know, kind of just adding in gray to it. Okay, let's do another light source right here. So let me see, let me get my bearings again where I put that light source coming from. I have a feeling, yeah, light source is probably about right here. Okay, so right above this second kind of cluster of branches, okay? This is our kind of fall, or it's not fall, but spring color tones scene. And I thought I would use my cloud cumulus here. Now, it'd be a really good idea to stamp this cloud before I did all that, you know, paint pen work up in the trees. Just because, you know, when I set my cloud over it, I might stamp into some of this green. I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference here. All right, Lynn, if you're following this lesson here, what you're going to do is you're going to wipe off your perimeter here. Now, wipe it off good. Now, I'm talking about like a 1/4 to 1/2 inch into the stamp right here, and really good around the edges, okay? Now we have a wet stamp in the middle and kind of drier on the outside edges. Not completely dry. Don't get it with a wet paper towel and take off all the ink. Take off a lot of it, okay? And then, let's see, we'll mask off a little bit down here. And I want this area to be kind of white up here, okay? So I don't want a bunch of cloud up there. Undermask this somewhat, you know, have about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch showing here. Now you're going to be stamping out the unmounted version, so however you're doing that. Okay, but see how that cloud just kind of, you don't have this harsh edge here showing, right? There's no like hard rectangle. That's because we've really wiped it off really good around there. Now I'm gonna need about another maybe 2 impressions from this. You're doing one-handed inking right there. Wipe off really good around the perimeter like this. Come in here like this, and then angle this off like this. And I'm just going to wipe off this ink. I'm not even going to mask down here. Okay, and we'll go like this. I don't know if I'd go 90 degrees, but you can, you know. Okay, so get that. So really wipe off that top a lot, okay? wiping pretty good. Kind of wiping this bottom portion too. And we'll go like this. See, that one was like that. This one's like this. So I'm overlapping about this much into it. It's like an inch or so. Okay. So you see that you have that break in the clouds right there where it's kind of open. There's a bunch of tree limbs in front of it all, but you have that opening right in there with that light coming through. And if you want to, you can, you know, take some of this blue ink that you stamped out your cloud in. Okay. I want to try to do this left-handed for Lynn. All right, let me see here. Okay, but leave like an area of light right there. See, I kind of toned in right there. See that little open area like that? And then I'll come up here in the tree. Okay, I gotta go righty here. And we'll get that little vignette going. So kind of, you know, give it that kind of rounded edge like that. So, and so I'll bring in this blue a little bit into the trees like this. Just to emphasize this, you know, source of light coming from right in here. So see, I'm gonna tone that in a little bit right in there. Let's at the bottom left and right corner. And yeah, you can do it with green because green is a component of, or blue is a component of green. Okay. There we go right there. Much stronger kind of lighting scenario now, right? So this one right here, the lighting is coming from right there, and we just used tone. In this one in the background, we used texture. And a little bit of tone too, but just going with that cloud cumulus, you can create that. I mean, this is just like creating like daytime light too. You can put a moon up there and just stamp that moon right in there, and you know, you're set with your light source, and that'd be pretty cool too. Now we have this one here. There's a lot of open space right back in there. Okay, now this one right here, let's see, where did my light, I think it was right there. That was my light source, yeah. Things are generally kind of going towards that. Yeah, I think it was right there. So let's just hit this with a little bit more texture. Let's hit it with let's go with a little bit more of a, now see, this was like a kind of a solid tonal kind of range back in here. I mean, it transitions from darker to lighter over here. But let's go with a little bit more of a streakier kind of look in this one. Let's get, I'll tell you what, let's do this with both blue and gray. We'll go for a little bit of a mix here. Let's see. I have a little bit of re-inker here. Now, the re-inker is going to make things like so much easier. It's smoother when you're kind of, you know, streaking in tone onto this really dry, porous type of paper too. So, okay, now right here, remember, this is my light source. I don't want to like bring a bunch of tone in there because that's going to be where my lighting is coming from. So we'll do it kind of around it like this, okay? And I'll bring some of this in like this. This is a really light blue color, by the way. All right, so remember, where did it go? I think it was right here. Okay, that was my light source right there. Because it's just general area here. If I put like a quarter down like that, you know, imagine there was like a quarter there, like the, you know, coin quarter. Okay, now I realize that, I mean, it's barely visible tone right there because it's so light. This one's Adirondack Lights Aqua. But I've kind of moistened the paper a little bit, so it's going to be easier to streak color in here now. Now this is my Memento Gray. Memento Gray is a really, really pale tone too. Maybe too pale. You can always go darker, right? But if you go too dark, it's, you know, you can make other things darker, making something that you thought went too dark look lighter, but you can't like remove it, you know, without doing some kind of like bleaching, you know, technique or something like that, which we don't want to do. Okay, so going into it with Bahama Blue. Bahama Blue is much darker, but it's mixed now with all those other inks that are still on my paper towel here, but it's really blending really smoothly, just because the paper is kind of moist with ink at this point in time. Now, I mean, like to get a little bit darker, I'm going to have to tap it in like this, okay? But anyways, that's where my lighting is coming from, right in there, okay? My shadows are pretty, you know, they're pretty dark right there, so I think I'm going to have to go with a little bit more contrast to make it, you know, those shadows in there make sense from a, value standpoint, you know, in terms of light and dark. Let's go with this one right here. This is a little bit of a darker blue than this one. They look about the same, but the Marvy's a little bit darker. Kind of going for my vignette type of look there. Taking a look at it again. It's gotten so saturated when I put my finger down, I'm kind of removing ink. It's because of all that re-inker down there. I've kind of saturated the surface a little bit. But that's looking pretty decent there, you know, with that lighting right up in the sky. Kind of casting that light a little bit more. Let's try the Danube Blue. Here, I'm just taking a glance up at my pad since my blue is kind of towards the top of a stack of like, I don't know, whatever, 15 pads and easy to get to. I might as well try it. It looks quite a bit darker, but the Memento inks don't get like super dark. They always seem to be a little bit lighter than you know, what that colored indexing, you know, whatever, illustrates. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create some tones out here that are roughly the same value as my shadows. Okay, this color right here matches that kind of navy-ish blue a little bit more, so I don't know, my shadows seem to, you know, kind of from a color standpoint makes a little bit more sense now. All right, now this one right here, we don't really need to do anything because this is this printed vintage paper, and it already has this transitioning light here from the use of a vignette around the full size 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But we have our finished pieces like so. So that's your strong, you know, whatever lighting sense, and kind of 3 different ways. These two right here are kind of similar, but this one's just using kind of a gradated, you know, gradation of tone. This one's a little bit more streaky. I mean, I just have this little area to kind of work with, so I kind of put a streak right across in here, and that's a little bit lighter right there, so it goes dark, lighter, darker, lighter right here, and a little bit darker down here. All right, so it's a little bit more streaky. So, and this one again, this one's done with texture up in the sky to define this more illuminated area right here. Okay, so that's just you know, one way that you can do or represent lighting in your pieces. And yeah, it's just really simple and easy to do. Okay, so this video is it's short enough. I was going to save the additional lighting texture for another video. Let's not do that. Let's just go, and this is going to take me like, I don't know, a couple minutes here. 100% cotton ball. Okay. White pigment ink right here. Use any kind of pigment ink, especially on these, you know, types of card stocks like this. But 100% cotton ball, I would say. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling with it. I've tried them and multiple times, thinking, heck, you know, it seems like this would work, but they really don't. It's because they wick moisture and you just don't get enough in your cotton ball. So you ink up like this, and then you take this and smash it down like this, so you have a nice flat cotton ball, and then you have ink kind of pressed up in there. But let's just put a little bit of extra lighting around in our lit area. Okay, so see that kind of light on my tree right there, where the light is kind of coming through there. I like to put a little bit of kind of light at the base of my trees. I might be putting a little bit too much, too fast, just to expedite this. But you can see that right in there. Look at that tree. I mean, it's a little bit richer in terms of kind of texture in here now. We have this soft looking mist in here. Now I did lighten up some of my shadow, but I don't know, you can see the shadow in there still. Okay, lighting is coming from within here. See, all my branches are the same. You know, they're pretty much the same texture, but if you go in here and add this lighting on some of the branches right in there, so you suddenly have that light coming, you know, streaming through the tree a little bit like that, okay? Let's put some down here at the base of the tree like that. Sometimes you put too much, and if you've never done this before, you're probably putting globs of pigment ink down there. So just, yeah, just wipe it off like that, you know, and dab on there again. Or dab off a lot of that white, you know, before you start applying it in here. And you're just kind of like, think about it like you're trying to apply like a powder. That's the sensibility of it, okay? So we're not used to doing that with wet media. We're used to getting like a pretty big slather. I'm going to put some of this on my clouds, making some of these clouds look really billowy and soft like this in the background too. But see this right in here in this little morning mist, you know, on the, I don't know, not meadow, but on the grassy slope, I guess. Not to be mistaken with grassy knoll. Bad connotations. All right. Something like that. See this little? I mean, it's kind of subtle. And right in here, I think this one's really benefit from this. So let's go with this at the base of some of these trees right in here. So I put some of that on some of those branches right in between there. I'll put a little bit on that one too, just to make it look a little bit different. This pigment ink does dry, I found, almost always darker than what it looks like when it's been freshly applied and a little bit wet, okay? So, you know, you have to put a little bit more down than what you think looks ideal. Now on this one right here, there's no white in here, like anywhere in this piece. So this kind of, it stands out. I mean, you could try it, but to me it looks a little bit strange, okay? On this, you know, because this mist here, this white pigment ink represents white lighting in a scene. It's like moisture in the air being illuminated by that color of light that's in the scene. So that's the white of the paper. So, you know, when you do this illumination in here, that's like white light on, you know, this fictional mist that's in there. So that tone of white makes sense because this is the white light that's reflecting off of it, okay? If we were looking at this mist here and it was like a warm sunset or something like that, then that mist would probably be more golden or something like that because you have that type of light shining on it. All right. Okay, so anyways, there's your kind of lighting in here. I really like the looks of these right here, don't you? It's really fun to do, and you can really, you know, play around with your lighting and emphasize it in different ways, and it's just really fun to do. This is the perfect spot for little critters in here. You can put deer. I have this little child and sled that's really fun. There's a skier in there. You can put, if you have like snowmen or something like that, you can put those in there. You know, this type of scenario right here with the snow in here. But this one right here, maybe it's that little fishing boy or something like that walking home. Kind of the light is getting a little bit lower in the horizons or something like that. So he's got to make his way home so he doesn't have to walk in the dark. All right, so anyways, if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section. And thanks as always for tuning in to the Stampscapes channel.